everyone. I welcome you all in lecture 8 of module 1, stress and strain, and we are going to discuss about temperature stresses or also called as thermal stresses. If a material is subjected to change in temperature, length of the material also changes. If the material is free to go through change in length, no stresses are developed in the material. However, if the material is constrained, stresses are developed in the material which are known as temperature stresses. The change in length due to increase or decrease in temperature is given by delta is equal to L alpha into T, where delta is either increase or decrease in length due to temperature. Capital L is original length. Alpha is called as coefficient of thermal expansion, and capital T is used for increase or decrease in temperature in degree centigrade. So using earlier equation that delta L was PL over E, so in case of P divided by A, if we substitute sigma as stress, then that equation becomes sigma into L divided by E, and delta is given by L alpha into T. So if we equate these two, sigma L divided by E is equal to L alpha into T, we can write for stress as sigma is equal to alpha into T into T. So temperature stresses are given by sigma is equal to alpha into T into E, where alpha is coefficient of thermal expansion, T is increase or decrease in temperature, and capital E is Young's modulus. Similarly, temperature strain will be given by epsilon is equal to sigma divided by E. This you are aware of. So temperature strain epsilon will be equal to alpha into T with coefficient of thermal expansion and change in temperature. So these three are basic equations regarding temperature stresses. One is for change in length, delta is equal to L into alpha into T. The other is for temperature stresses, sigma is equal to alpha into T into E, and temperature strain epsilon is alpha into T. So with this we will go further for analysis of temperature stresses in compound sections. Consider a composite section as shown in the figure, subjected to increase in temperature T degree centigrade. So this is the diagram. One of the material is material 1 have some coefficient of thermal expansion as alpha 1, and say material 2 has coefficient of thermal expansion as alpha 2. Then if say for example alpha 1 and alpha 2 are coefficients of thermal expansion, and if the structure is not prevented, and if alpha 1 is less than alpha 2, the expansion of material 2 will be greater as alpha is greater as compared to material 1 than expansion of material 1 as shown in figure 2. So what is shown in figure 2 is change in length due to increase in the temperature if this support is not there, and if alpha 1 is lesser than alpha 2, then change in length of material 1 will be lesser than change in length of material 2. But as there is support, what will happen is, as the two members are joined together and as its full expansion is prevented, then material 1 will be subjected to tension and material 2 will be subjected to compression. So what will happen is, due to increase in temperature, there will be a change in length of complete body. Okay, and if material 1 has coefficient of thermal expansion lesser than coefficient of thermal expansion of material 2, then as this complete structure will be subjected to same change in length, then there will be tension getting created in material 1 and compression will be getting created in material 2. So the equilibrium equation can be written as tensile force in material 1 will be equal to compressive force in material 2, or sigma 1 A1 is equal to sigma 2 into A2. If sigma 1 is stress in part of material 1 and area of cross section of that material 1 is A1, then sigma 1 into A1 is the tensile force in the material 1, and sigma 2 into A2 is compressive force in material 2. So with this, if sigma can be rewritten as epsilon into E, so we can write epsilon 1 E1 A1 is equal to epsilon 2 into A2. So with this equation we can go further that for compatibility equation it can be written as elongation of material 1 is equal to elongation of material 2. So elongation is same. So temperature strain in material 1 and material 1, if it is subjected to tensile stress, then in addition to temperature strain there will be a tensile strain, and elongation of material 2 will be creating strain which is due to temperature, that is temperature strain of material 2, and due to compressive force getting developed there will be compressive strain. So temperature strain of material 1 plus tensile strain in material 1 will be equal to temperature strain of material 2 minus the compressive strain. And we can write equation with this as alpha 1 into T is temperature strain in material 1 plus sigma 1 divided by E1 is, say, sigma 1 is tensile stress in material 1, and say capital E1 is Young's modulus for that particular material. Then this can be written as alpha 1 into T plus sigma 1 E1 is equal to, for temperature strain of material 2, it can be written as alpha 2 into T minus sigma 2 divided by E2. So we can rewrite it as, say, this alpha 1 plus alpha 2. It can be taken over here on this side, alpha 1. If we take it on this side, alpha 2 minus alpha 1 and into T as it is, and sigma 1 divided by E1, it can be written as epsilon 1 strain in material 1, and this sigma 2 divided by E2, if it is taken on this side, then it becomes plus epsilon 2, that is strain in material 2. So this is second equation. So with these two equations, the compound sections can be analyzed for temperature stresses and strains getting developed in that particular structure. So with this we'll go further with two numerical related to temperature stresses. This is numerical 12. The statement of the numerical is something like this. A steel tube of 40 mm outer diameter and 30 mm internal diameter encloses a gunmetal rod of 25 mm diameter and is rigidly joined at each end as shown. At a temperature of 40 degrees centigrade, no longitudinal stress exists. Determine the stresses induced in these materials and increase in length of the assembly if the temperature is raised to 220 degrees centigrade. And these constants are given. One is Young's modulus ES, another is Young's modulus for gunmetal. Then this alpha S and alpha G given as coefficient of thermal expansion for steel and the gunmetal. And this is the diagram. So this is steel tube and this is gunmetal bar, and it is enclosed over here at both ends. It is fixed, and there is increase in the temperature. Initial temperature is given as 40 degrees centigrade, and final temperature or rise in temperature is 220 degrees centigrade. So change in the temperature will be 180 degrees centigrade. So we'll go through a solution of this particular numerical. As the coefficient of expansion of the gunmetal is more as compared to that of steel, the final expansion will be less than the free expansion of the gunmetal due to temperature rise, and the stress developed in the gunmetal will be compressive stress. As the coefficient of expansion of the steel is less, the final expansion of steel will be more than free expansion, and it will have tensile stresses getting developed in that particular steel tube. So using compatibility equation, what we have written earlier, that alpha 1 into T plus sigma 1 divided by E1. So this is strain due to temperature, this is strain due to tensile stress, and the other is alpha 2 into T, that is temperature strain in second material, and sigma 2 divided by 2 is the compressive strain due to compressive stress getting developed in the other material. So we can rewrite it as alpha 1 into T. So we are writing alpha 1 for the material which has the lesser value of coefficient of thermal expansion. So we are rewriting it as alpha S into T plus, instead of sigma 1, we are writing it as P divided by A. So both P, the force getting developed in steel tube as well as gunmetal, will be same. So, but area of cross section is different. So alpha S into T plus P divided by S into ES is equal to alpha G into T minus P, as this is compressive, divided by AG into AG. So with this equation, what we can write over here is P, if we take it common, over here it will be 1 divided by AS into AS, and in this equation, if we take this P as common outside, the remaining term will be 1 divided by AG into AG. So this equation will become as P 1 divided by AS into AS plus 1 divided by AG into AG. And if we take this alpha S on this side, it will give us alpha G minus alpha S, and T is common, is taken out. So with this equation, if we calculate the area of cross section of each material, then for steel it will be pi by 4 d square minus small d square. So that will be 549.78 mm square. And for gunmetal, its diameter is given as 25 mm. So with that we can calculate area of cross section, and that is 490.87 millimeter square. So if we substitute these values in this equation, and the values of Young's modulus, ES and EG, it is given, and alpha G, alpha S is also given, and T is also given. So we can rewrite this further as P is equal to, now for this alpha G minus alpha S, so this is 18 into 10 to the power minus 6 and 11 into 10 to the power minus 6. So 18 minus 11, it gives us 7 into 10 to the power minus 6, and this multiplied by T. So initial temperature is 40 degrees centigrade and final temperature is given as 220 degrees centigrade. So increase in temperature is 220 minus 40 is 180 degrees centigrade, divided by, now this value 1 divided by AS into ES is 8.66 into 10 to the power minus 9. So what is written over here is area of cross section is 549.78, that multiplied with this value, Young's modulus of steel 210 gigapascal. If we convert it into megapascal, 210 into 10 to the power 3, so that calculation will give us 8.66 into 10 to the power minus 9. Plus for 1 divided by AG into EG, it gives us 22.63 into 10 to the power minus 9. So this gives us force developed due to change in the temperature as P is equal to 40.27 into 10 to the power 3 newtons. And with knowing this force getting developed due to change in the temperature, we can calculate what is stress getting developed in steel and the gunmetal bar. Sigma S is equal to P divided by what's the area of cross section of the steel tube is. So that will give us 73.24 Newton per mm square as stress getting developed in steel, and that will be tensile. And sigma G stress in gunmetal, with calculation it gives us 82.04 Newton per mm square, which is compressive. So in addition to this, what is asked is what will be the change in length or increase in length in total assembly. So what we can write for that is increase in length of assembly is elongation of steel tube. So it is due to temperature plus the tensile stress, and it will be same as of gunmetal bar, that is due to temperature, and there will be decrease due to compressive stress. So either you can use the first equation regarding steel, or else you can use what is happening with gunmetal. So both change in length is same. So for strain in these materials, the equation is alpha 1 into T plus sigma 1 E1 sigma 1 divided by E1 is equal to alpha 2 into T minus sigma 2 divided by T2. So that is for strain. So change in length will be alpha S L into T plus sigma S divided by Es into L, or if we take that L common outside, what is remaining is alpha S into T plus sigma S divided by Es. So these sigma S we have already calculated. So if we substitute all these values, so length is given, the total length is 1 meter, so that is 1000 millimeter, and for alpha S the value is given as 11 into 10 to the power minus 6. Change in temperature is 180 degrees centigrade, and for the strain due to the tensile stress in steel, that is 73.24 Newton per mm square divided by Young's modulus, that is given as 210 gigapascal, so into 10 to the power 3. So this calculation gives us delta L as 2.33 millimeter. So with this you can understand how to calculate the change in length or stresses getting developed due to increase in the temperature. We'll go with one more numerical related to this kind of analysis. Numerical 13. The statement of the numerical is something like this. A composite bar made up of aluminum and steel is rigidly attached to the end supports at 50 degrees centigrade. So initial temperature is 50 degrees centigrade, and the assembly is with aluminum and steel as shown in the figure. So find the stresses in the two portions of the bar when the temperature of the composite system, if the temperature is falls to 20 degrees centigrade. If Young's modulus of steel as 210 gigapascal, and for aluminum it is given as 70 gigapascal, and the coefficient of thermal expansion for steel is said as 12 into 10 to the power minus 6 per degree centigrade, and coefficient of thermal expansion for aluminum is given as 24 into 10 to the power minus 6 per degree centigrade, and the diameter of steel is said as 20 millimeter, and for aluminum it is 30 millimeter. It is asked if the ends do not yield, and also one more is asked that if the ends yield by 0.25 mm, what are the stresses getting developed. So we'll go through solution of this. You can calculate what is area of cross section for steel and area of cross section for aluminum. And if temperature is increased, such structure will be subjected to compression due to the supports. And due to decrease of temperature, both materials will be subjected to tension. So from equilibrium equation we can write as the force getting developed is same in both the materials. So force is equal to stress into area of cross section. So we can write as sigma S into AS is equal to sigma A into area of cross section of aluminum. So we can rewrite it as sigma S is equal to sigma A into area of cross section of aluminum divided by area of cross section of steel. So we can rewrite that as sigma S is equal to 2.25 times sigma A, or the stress getting developed in steel is 2.25 times stress getting developed in aluminum. So the another condition we can write as contraction of these bars in absence of support will be, so that can be calculated as delta change in length. If this support is not over there, then that will be change in length of aluminum plus change in length of steel. So that is delta A plus delta S. And change in length due to temperature is given by alpha S Ls into T, that is for steel, plus for aluminum alpha A La into T. So further, if we substitute all these values, given alpha S is equal to 12 into 10 to the power minus 6, length of steel it is given as 600 millimeter, plus for aluminum alpha A is given as 24 into 10 to the power minus 6, and length of aluminum is 300 millimeter, and T temperature is getting decreased from 50 degrees centigrade, which is initial, is getting decreased to 20 degrees centigrade. So change in temperature is 30 degrees centigrade. So if this support is not there, the change in the length will be 0.432 millimeter. So if this is the change in length due to change in temperature, and if support is there, the change in length is not permitted, then due to support, this reduction in length is prevented. Hence, members will be subjected to tension, and the stresses developed will be something like this. So delta is PL over AE. So instead of P divided by A, it is written as sigma. So sigma A into its length, LA, say, divided by Young's modulus of that particular material, plus sigma S into L divided by ES, and this total is 0.432 millimeter if support is not there. Now, as support is there, this is not permitted, and due to that, stresses are getting developed, and that can be written as this is sigma A into L divided by EA. So L of aluminum is 300 millimeter is substituted over here. So 300 into sigma A divided by EA. That value is given as 70 gigapascal. So it is written over here 70 into 10 to the power 3 plus for sigma S. Now we can substitute it by 2.25 times sigma A. So that is written over here 2.25 into sigma A for sigma S, and its length for steel it is given as 600 millimeter divided by its Young's modulus 210 into 10 to the power 3, and this is equal to 0.432. So with this equation we can find what is stress getting developed in the aluminium. So that will be 40.32 Newton per mm square. And if we substitute it in earlier equation, that sigma S is equal to 2.25 times sigma A. So this with this we can calculate what is stress getting developed in steel. So that is calculated as 90.72 Newton per millimeter square. Now these stresses are getting developed if the complete change in length 0.432, which is possible if the support is not there, and that complete change in length is prevented, then the stresses getting developed are as calculated earlier. Now if out of this 0.432 millimeter change in length, 0.25 millimeter is allowed, that much yielding is taking place in case of that support, then the change in length will be 0.432 minus 0.25. So this is allowed. So 0.182 is the change in length which is prevented. Then the same equation can be used to calculate again what is stress getting developed in aluminium, and that gives as 16.98 Newton per mm square. And with this again, if we substitute over here in 2.25, so sigma S will be 2.25 times 16.98, and that will give us 38.22 Newton per mm square. So with this two numerical, we will go further with stress strain curve for mild steel. In earlier lecture, we have seen that video regarding the tensile test conducted on one of the material. I think that copper was used as a specimen, and we are going to discuss about stress strain diagram for mild steel, and again afterwards we will be discussing about the stress strain diagram for different materials. Okay, so the salient features of the stress strain curve of mild steel are as follows. When specimen of mild steel is subjected to tensile load under universal testing machine, if the load is increased gradually, the strain getting developed is proportional to stress up to certain value. So if you draw that graph, stress versus strain, then up to some point P from origin O, the OP graph is inclined straight line, and as shown in this figure, and line OP indicates this range, which is known as line of proportionality. The stress at P is known as proportionality limit. The load, if it is increased further beyond the limit of proportionality, the elongation is found to be more rapid and the material is still in elastic state, but the graph will be something like this from P to point E. The portion P to E is due to slippage of the material along oblique surface due to shear stress. The point E is called as elastic limit. The stress at the elastic limit is referred as proof stress, but Hooke's law is not applicable in zone P to E. Point E is very near to P and hence generally ignored, and the elastic limit is taken as limit of proportionality. If the specimen is loaded further, then what will happen, we will observe over here. So initially when the force is applied to the specimen from the initial position, then what is happening from point O up to point P is there is increase in the length and the decrease in the diameter, and beyond P to E the same thing will happen, but beyond E when the stress is further increased, plastic deformation gets occurred. At point Y, that is metal shows appreciable strain even without further increase in force. The curve drops slightly to this point to point Y dash, and the yield goes to point Y double dash, and these 2 points, point Y dash and Y double dash, are called as upper yield point and lower yield point. If the load is increased after yield point, the stress strain curve rises up to the point capital U. So that capital U is the strain in between that Y dash to Y double dash and beyond that up to capital U. So the strain in the range of Y to U is about 90 to 100 times that of O to Y. So earlier strain is very small as compared to this strain from point Y dash or Y up to capital U. So the stress value at U, it is known as ultimate stress. So strain in this elastic limit is very small as compared to what the strain is getting developed up to ultimate stress. So what is happening at that position? If specimen is stressed further, it begins to form a neck. So this kind of diagram is drawn for that. After point U, lower loads are sufficient to keep further elongation of a specimen. The specimen fractures at point R. So from this U, capital U, this is the ultimate stress. There will be the fraction taking place at this point R, capital R, and the fraction occurs along the cone shaped surface at about 45 degrees with the original surface, indicating that the shear is primarily responsible for the failure of the ductile material. So what is happening is the stress R, which is nominal stress, is by calculating with original cross-sectional area, and as we have discussed in the lateral strain, that the diameter will be getting decreased. So if we consider actual or true diameter whatsoever is there or reduced area of cross section, then the stress value is R dash as shown over here. So this R dash is related to the reduced area of cross section considered in the calculation of the stresses, and this capital R is related to the calculations with original cross sectional area. So we'll go through this diagram. So there will be a cone shape getting developed as shown over here, okay, and at the failure, at the fracture, this will be getting strain in this particular manner. For other material, the stress strain curves are something like this. Some alloys of steel and light alloys of aluminum and magnesium do not indicate well-defined yield point. In such cases, the stress strain diagram may be curved even at the origin. The yield point of such materials is determined from the criteria of proof stress, which is defined as the stress inducing a residual strain of approximately 0.2% in a material. So this is the graph for that kind of material, stress strain curve. So what is done is the point to point to find the proof stress of such material, a line parallel to the tangent at the origin from 0.2% strain on the x-axis is drawn. So this is a tangent at O to this graph, and to that at 0.2% of its length parallel line is drawn over here, and the intersection of this point with stress strain curve gives the value of proof stress. So this is value of C point is giving you the value of proof stress. The ductility of material reduces with increase in strength. The mild steel, high strength deformed steel, which we call it as HYSD, and high carbon steel can sustain strengths up to 35% for mild steel, 18% in HYSD steel, and in high carbon steel it is 10%. And their ultimate strength are 410 megapascal in case of mild steel. In case of HYSD steel, it is 550 megapascal, and in case of high carbon steel, it goes up to 1000 megapascal and more than that. For other materials, the discussion is something like this. Materials which has less than 5% elongation at fracture on a gauge length of 100 are classified as brittle materials. For example, cast iron or stone or glass. In such type of materials, the fraction occurs without any noticeable change in the rate of elongation, which implies that there is no difference between the ultimate strength and the rupture strength. At the time of rupture of a brittle material, there is no making of the specimen taking place, and the rupture occurs along a surface perpendicular to the load. This indicates that the shear strength of brittle material is more than half of the tensile strength. So with this discussion, we will conclude today's lecture. Thank you all.